What's up, motorcycling enthusiasts and squids of YouTube? Today, I want to talk about my 10 favorite things about the Kawasaki Z900rs. Let's get into it. So these 10 things that I'm going to talk about are in no particular order. There's no order of preference, etc. They're just 10 things that I generally love about the Z900rs. Number one would be the paint color. This is a 2022 Z900rs, and the paint is this lovely green tinted blue metallic. That's the way I'll describe it. I believe that Kawasaki calls it candy tone blue. The paint is borderline gaudy, which makes it absolutely perfect for a motorcycle. You kind of want your bikes to be a little out there, a little over the top. And I wouldn't say this paint color is over the top, but it's inching up there a little bit, especially for the overall aesthetic of the bike. It's supposed to be a throwback to the 1975 colorway used on the Z1, which ironically is the year that I was born, and one of the main reasons I bought the bike. I know that sounds weird, but hey, I am. My number two favorite thing about the Z900rs is probably the engine. It's a very smooth mill that was cribbed from the Z900. Great intake sound, decent MPG, decent torque. I mean, it's just hard to fault. Now, the throttle's not so hot, but the engine itself is fantastic. I love it. Number three, I feel like Kawasaki really nailed the seat on this bike, which is a bit of an odd thing to say about a motorcycle, but let's face it, everybody complains about seats on every motorcycle ever made. But this one is pretty great. It's big and flat, which is the way I like it. It has that retro vibe. I just love the fact you've got the stitches across the seat as it goes from front to back, and it just feels very period correct for a 1970s motorcycle. It's a very comfortable seat, or at least it is for me. I'm about 175 pounds, and there's plenty of room for both pilot and passenger. It's really hard to fault this seat, and it's one of the only bikes that when I acquired it, I wasn't looking for an aftermarket seat right away, so kudos, Kawasaki. Number four on the list is definitely the styling. I'm assuming that you like the styling as well because you're watching this video. It's one of these styling exercises that looks better in person than it does in photos. I really believe that. I know it's cliche, but it's true. It's just that Kawasaki has a fantastic fit and finish on the Z900rs, and they really didn't do anything wrong. Not much anyway. There's a few things. But gorgeous looking bike, you know, all the period correct touches, smooth sided tank, although I wish it was scalloped, chrome bezeled headlamp, which looks fantastic, although it's a modern headlamp, so it looks retro but performs very modern. Dual analog gauges that are unfortunately separated by that little digital display. Little extension of the bodywork behind the back of the seat, which gives it that really cool retro vibe. I mean, they've just really crushed it on the styling, and I would give it about an 8 out of 10. Number five on the list is the universal appeal the Z900rs has. I've not met many people that didn't like the way the bike looked and even the way the bike sounded, and if they've ridden on it, the way the bike generally rode. I've been approached many times. It's so bad that half the time when I put gas in the motorcycle, I end up talking to somebody even when I'm in a hurry. It's one of these things that you have to accept if you're going to own a Z900rs in a place where there's, you know, a fair amount of people. And the bad news for guys is all of the attention that it has attracted is from other guys. So if you're a woman or a bro, it's into guys, this could be the bike for you. Number six is the brakes. Kawasaki did a great job on the brakes on this motorcycle. Even though they're Kawasaki branded, they've got plenty of grip, plenty of feel. They're ABS, they stop well. I don't feel like the ABS is overly intrusive for normal riding that a typical person is going to do on the street. Probably not great for the track, but this isn't really a track bike anyway. I've never experienced fade with these brakes, never experienced any squeaking. Decent brake feel is available. I just love them, and I think they're pretty great. Number seven is the aftermarket support for this bike. Now, it's not a Triumph. You're not going to find as many parts as you will for a Bonneville, for example, or a Street Twin or Speed Twin or something like that. But if you go to We Bike Japan, there are a ton of aftermarket parts available for the Z900rs. If you're like me and you don't have a cafe model, there are really nice looking headlight fairings that you can order pre-painted. You can order extensions for the bodywork behind the seat to make it look even more retro than it does today. You obviously have tail tidies, crash bars, aftermarket exhaust, several aftermarket exhausts. You can tune the engine, you can change the velocity stacks, you could do so many things to this bike. I was really shocked at the amount of support that it has, and apparently it's a lot more popular overseas than it is here in the United States. So if you want to tweak and tune your motorcycle, the Z900RS could be your huckleberry. Number 8 on the list is the analog gauges on the Z900RS. Now, I've always loved analog gauges. When I was a kid, I remember the RX-7, the 3rd gen one, came out with these beautiful glass covered, gauges, and I thought they were just stunning and beautiful. The Miata back in the day, of which I've owned way too many, they typically have had analog gauges, some retro, some not. And I just feel like analog gauges work the best when it comes to bright light because they're not going to wash out. And at nighttime, all the manufacturer has to do is backlight them. And yeah, they look great on this bike. My only complaint is that they're separated by some digital info. Not a big fan of the way they separated them. It kind of makes the gauges look like two boobs from the front, but hey, that's not a huge deal. And the gauges look great. I mean, I typically forget about the digital stuff once I get on the bike. Number 9 is value for money. For my UK friends out there, y'all love this term. And I feel like the Z900RS gives you a lot of bang for the buck. You're getting a reliable bike. You're getting a good-looking bike with high-quality finishes. You're getting decent power, decent acceleration, crap tires, but okay, whatever. Decent suspension, decent brakes. I mean, it's one of the few motorcycles that I've ridden where I feel like it's a whole bike. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when I've ridden European motorcycles, I feel like I have 2 out of 3 things, 2 out of 3 legs on the stool. I either have good styling and good brakes and kind of an average engine, or I have a fantastic engine and fantastic suspension and average styling. I never feel like I get the whole bike. And the Z900RS is one of the first bikes that I rode where I felt like I had a complete motorcycle. There was not that many obvious shortcomings that threw the whole package out of balance. The only one that I know of, to be honest, is the tires, but we all knew that. Number 10 on the list, and quite possibly most important, is the Z900RS is an extremely reliable motorcycle, or at least it has been for me. I've never had a drop of oil on the garage floor. The bike has always started up even when I've neglected it. I've never had to crank it twice. Like, it always just cranks and goes. It goes through its warm-up cycle, and then the bike's ready to rock. It started on cold mornings, wet mornings. It started when it's been extremely hot outside and I've left it out in the sun for a long period of time. I've just never had any issues with it, and I feel like most people are not going to have any issues with theirs. Obviously, your mileage may vary, especially if you buy used. Make sure you do all your proper due diligence from a mechanical standpoint, but I mean, this bike is just great, and that's more than I can say about many of my bikes, especially my Ducatis, which have not been all that reliable at all. All right, y'all, that's the end of my list. What was on your list that I missed? If there's anything, please let us know in the comments below. We would like to know. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would really help me out, and I've got some exciting things coming up, including 2 new motorcycles for the channel and many, many, many other things, and I wouldn't want y'all to miss it. Until next time, y'all, keep it shiny side up.